9 years. 9 long years, and every single one of them felt like an eternity spent wandering through a dense, suffocating fog. My life, once vibrant and full of promise, had been reduced to a monochrome existence, a haunting echo of what it once was. It all began with a lie, a whisper that turned into a roar, shattering my family and leaving me adrift in its devastating wake. I was 24, a budding architect fresh out of graduate school, living in a cozy apartment in Portland, Oregon. My days were filled with blueprints, coffee, and the occasional hike through the lush Pacific Northwest forests. Life was simple, predictable, and undeniably good. Then came the call that would forever alter its trajectory. It was a Tuesday afternoon, the kind where the sun finally breaks through the persistent Oregon drizzle. I was at my desk, sketching out designs for a sustainable housing project, when my phone buzzed. It was my mother calling for the 3rd time in 10 minutes, an unprecedented occurrence in our family, signaling an emergency of monumental proportions. My heart sank even before I answered. "Ethan, where have you been?" Her voice was a strained whisper, laced with a raw guttural sob that sent a chill down my spine. "You need to tell me." "About Lily." Lily, my cousin. She was 14, a shy, artistic girl who lived with her parents in Bend, a 4-hour drive away. I hadn't seen her in over a year, not since the last family reunion. "Lily? What about her?" I asked, my voice barely audible. Then came the accusation, delivered by my mother's trembling voice, each word a hammer blow to my chest. She said, when she was 7 and you were 16, during that summer, we all stayed at Grandma's cabin. She said you took her to the old shed behind the house and you hurt her, repeatedly. The world spun. The blueprints on my desk blurred into an indistinguishable mess. "No, that's impossible, Mom. You know that's not true," I stammered, my voice rising to a panicked crescendo. I would never. But she wasn't listening. Her voice, now joined by my father's on speaker, was a cacophony of accusations, tears, and betrayal. "How could you, Ethan? How could you do this to your own family?" My father's voice, usually a comforting rumble, was cold, laced with a disgust that cut deeper than any physical pain. The call ended with their chilling decree. They never wanted to see me again. Then came the barrage of texts from my siblings, Sarah and Michael. Sarah called me a monster. Michael said I was a disgrace. Both blocked me before I could even formulate a response. I tried reaching out to aunts, uncles, other cousins, anyone who might listen, anyone who knew me. But the digital doors slammed shut, one after another. My uncle, Lily's father, sent one final text. "Stay away from our family, Ethan, or we'll call the police." The following year was a blur of self-destruction and despair. Every creak of the floorboards, every unexpected knock at the door, sent me into a cold sweat, convinced it was the police. I lost my job, unable to focus, my once promising career in architecture crumbling before my eyes. Food became an afterthought, sleep a distant memory. The only solace I found was in the bottom of a bottle and the numbing embrace of opioids. My apartment, once a sanctuary of creativity, became a reflection of my inner turmoil. Broken glass, shattered dreams, and a lingering scent of decay. Neighbors reported me for noise, for the sounds of things breaking, but I always managed to convince them it was just an accident, a clumsy moment. My nights were haunted by vengeful fantasies, dark imaginings of how to make Lily pay, how to make her feel a fraction of the agony she had inflicted upon me. The most disturbing thoughts, the ones that made my stomach churn with self-loathing, were those where I actually fantasized about having committed the heinous acts she accused me of. In late 2017, a glimmer of light appeared in the darkness. A distant acquaintance, unaware of my family's estrangement, offered me a temporary drafting position at a small firm specializing in historical renovations. It wasn't my dream job, but it offered structure, a reason to get out of bed. Slowly, painstakingly, I began the arduous journey towards sobriety. The antidepressants helped, replacing the dark, raging thoughts with a dull, manageable ache. Dating was impossible. How do you explain to someone that your entire family has disowned you for a crime you didn't commit? My therapist, Dr. Eris, became the only person I truly confided in, the only one who saw beyond the accusations to the broken man beneath. Then last week, a text from my mother, the first contact in 9 years. It was an innocuous message, full of small talk about my sisters and their growing families. My niece Clara was starting kindergarten. My nephew Leo was a boisterous toddler. The details, once irrelevant, now twisted a knife in my gut. I had missed it all. And then, yesterday, the bomb dropped. Another text, concise and devastating. At a family gathering last month, Lily, when pressed by my mother about the incident, had finally admitted that nothing had ever happened. She said she must have dreamt it. My parents, consumed by guilt and shame, were appalled. They had confronted the entire family, told them the truth, and now they wanted me back. The rage was immediate, overwhelming. It coursed through my veins like molten lead, eclipsing the years of numb acceptance. 9 years. 9 years of my life, stolen, destroyed, because of a lie, a fabricated dream. My hands trembled as I stared at the message, the faint glow of the screen reflecting the inferno in my eyes. Part of me craved vengeance, a systematic dismantling of their lives, starting with Lily. Make them feel what I felt. This morning, Lily texted me directly. After 9 years of silence, a casual, "Hey, I know you probably hate me, but I need to tell you the real truth." It wasn't a dream, she confessed. It was a calculated fabrication. At 15, her mother had caught her sneaking out to meet her boyfriend. Facing a summer grounded, missing out on a coveted art camp, she had desperate. She told them her erratic behavior was due to past trauma. When they pushed for details, she chose me. I was away at university, distant, and she assumed my denials would be easily dismissed. She never imagined they would cut me off completely. She tried to recant days later, but they dismissed it as me manipulating her, convincing her to protect me. The lie spiraled, consuming them all in its toxic embrace. The guilt had haunted her for years, driving her to therapy. Her final words echoed in the silence of my apartment. "I'm so sorry, Ethan. I know you'll never forgive me, but I wanted you to know it was never about you." I took screenshots. All of them. My therapist was on vacation for 3 weeks. The rage was a living entity inside me, coiling, striking, demanding release. 4 years sober, and all I wanted was to drown myself in alcohol and show up at their doors, screaming. I knew exactly what I was going to do. It was time for consequences. At 3 a.m., I sat in my kitchen, laptop open, Lily's confession blazing on the screen. 9 years. 9 goddamn years of my life, obliterated because she didn't want to miss art camp. The fluorescent light hummed overhead, casting long, unsettling shadows that mirrored the darkness swirling within me. Across town, Lily lay awake, phone clutched in her hand. She checked it compulsively, every notification sending a jolt of anxiety through her. Her engagement ring, a diamond glistening in the faint moonlight, seemed to mock her as she refreshed our message thread for the 100th time. No response from me. She bit her lip, typed out a frantic message, deleted it, then typed another. I forced myself to close the laptop and stand. My body moved on autopilot, brewing coffee I had no intention of drinking. The rage needed an outlet. I grabbed my car keys. At 6 a.m., I parked outside Lily's apartment building in northwest Portland. The morning was damp and cold, still heavy with the lingering scent of overnight rain. I sat in my car, engine off, waiting. Social media stalking over the years had given me a detailed understanding of her routine. She always went for a run at 6:15 a.m. without fail. Precisely on schedule, Lily emerged from the building, dressed in sleek running gear. She stretched by the entrance, earbuds in, completely oblivious. Then she turned towards the parking lot, and our eyes met. She froze mid-stretch, a deer caught in headlights. Her expensive running shoes squeaked on the wet pavement as she slowly backed away. I didn't move, didn't blink, just stared at her through the windshield. Her face went ashen. She stumbled backward, nearly tripping over the curb, then turned and bolted back inside. My phone buzzed immediately. Lily's name illuminated the screen with a text. "Please, just say something, anything." I ignored it, opening LinkedIn on my phone. Her profile picture smiled back at me, confident and poised. Lily Adams, Senior Creative Director at Vivid Innovations, a prominent marketing firm in downtown Portland. The irony was a bitter taste in my mouth. She had built a career on crafting narratives while her narrative had utterly demolished mine. Her engagement announcement from last month stared back. Liam O'Connell, a sharp, impeccably dressed venture capitalist. Another text from Lily. "I know you're reading these. I can see the read receipts." My phone rang. Marcus. My morning coffee meeting. I'd completely forgotten. First time I'd missed it in 2 years. I let it go to voicemail. I screenshotted Lily's confession from last night and her LinkedIn profile. Then I opened my text thread with my mother. Her messages, pleading for my return, sat there unanswered. My thumb hovered over the attachment button. One screenshot, no context. Let her figure it out. My phone battery flashed 6%. The low battery warning added a perverse urgency to my decision. I hit send. The response was immediate. Mom called. I declined. She called again and again. By the time I started driving to work, she'd called 47 times in 10 minutes. My phone buzzed constantly on the passenger seat, the screen lighting up with Mom, over and over. I pulled into the warehouse parking lot of Timber and Truss, the lumber supply company where I now worked as a project coordinator. My stomach dropped. Lily's white Honda sat conspicuously in visitor parking. What the hell was she doing at my job? Inside, I saw her through the office window, talking animatedly to my boss, Mr. Henderson. She dabbed at her eyes with a tissue. Mr. Henderson had his concerned face on, the one he used when someone's grandmother died. I clocked in, trying to walk past the office unnoticed, but Mr. Henderson spotted me and waved me in. Lily wouldn't look at me. Mr. Henderson pulled me aside near the water cooler, his voice low and sympathetic. "Ethan, I'm so sorry to hear about the death in the family. Lily explained everything. Take whatever time you need." I kept my voice controlled, level. "There was no death, Mr. Henderson. She's lying." The security camera's red light blinked overhead, recording everything. Mr. Henderson's face went from sympathetic to confused. He glanced between Lily and me. Lily finally looked at me, eyes wide and pleading. "I was just worried about you, Ethan. You weren't answering anyone's calls." I walked away without another word, heading to my station. Mr. Henderson followed me, clearly unsettled, but I just started my shift inventory like nothing happened. Lily left quickly after that. During my first break, my phone had blown up with Facebook notifications. Lily had messaged my work friends, claiming she was worried about my mental health. She asked them to check on me, said I'd been acting strange and the family was concerned. Mark from shipping approached me at the loading dock. "Hey man, your cousin stopped by. She seemed really concerned about you. Such a caring cousin. You okay?" My jaw clenched so hard I thought my teeth might crack, but I just nodded and kept working. At lunch, I sat in my car and opened Facebook. I hadn't looked at Lily's profile in months. Her 2015 posts were still public. There it was, her survivor. Post from right after the accusation. Hundreds of supportive comments, people calling her brave, offering prayers. One comment from 3 weeks ago caught my eye. Liam O'Connell, writing about being proud of her strength. My phone buzzed, unknown number. I almost ignored it, then saw the preview. This is Liam O'Connell. I know the truth now. We need to talk. Before I could process that, another text came through. Dad, your mother is hysterical. Lily says you've been stalking her for months. We're considering a restraining order. I wanted to throw my phone through the windshield. Instead, I opened our old family group chat from before everything went to hell. I scrolled back years. There was Lily asking me for help with her algebra homework, calling me her favorite cousin when I visited from college, her last message to me before the accusation, asking me to bring her a souvenir from university. My phone rang, Human Resources Department. I let it go to voicemail and listened immediately. This is Janet from Human Resources. We've received a concerning email about you from a family member. We need to schedule a mandatory meeting for tomorrow morning to discuss some allegations about your stability and history. Please call me back to confirm. I walked back inside and my supervisor, Mike, pulled me aside. Hey, heads up! That woman who was here earlier sent some pretty serious emails to HR. She seemed very convincing. Mentioned something about violence toward women. Just wanted you to know what you're walking into tomorrow. After work, I drove to my parents' neighborhood. Not to their house. I wasn't ready for that. But to Mrs. Schmidt's house next door. She'd always been kind to me. Even sent a card saying she didn't believe the accusations. Mrs. Schmidt invited me in for tea. Her hands shook as she poured. Whether from age or nervousness, I couldn't tell. Your parents told everyone you'd been getting help for your problem, she said quietly. But I never believed you had a problem to begin with. That evening, I created a throwaway email account from the library computer. I attached the screenshots of Lily's confession and sent them to Liam O'Connell's work email, which I found on his company website. Then, I immediately deleted the account. At 11 p.m., I couldn't help myself. I drove past Lily's apartment complex. Liam's Tesla sat in visitor parking. Even from the street, I could hear shouting from her second-floor unit. A window slammed shut. My phone lit up with a text from Lily. I'm telling everyone you doctored those screenshots. I was still sitting in my car processing that when headlights pulled up behind me. I tensed, ready for confrontation. But it was Sarah, my sister Sarah. She got out of her car, and even in the streetlight, I could see her mascara was streaked. She knocked on my window. I rolled it down but didn't say anything. Mom showed me the screenshot, Sarah said, her voice shaking. I've been thinking about that time Lily lied about me stealing her art supplies. Remember? She was so convincing, even had details about when and how I did it. Then we found them under her bed a week later. She glanced at my passenger seat and noticed my packed gym bag by the door. Were you planning on going somewhere? I shook my head. Just like to be prepared. Sarah got in the passenger seat without asking. She did this stuff all the time as a teenager. False illness claims before tests, fake injuries before family events she didn't want to attend. Remember when she said she had mono right before Grandma's 80th birthday? The clinic found nothing wrong. My phone buzzed. Liam O'Connell again. She admitted it to me. I'm done. She doesn't know I'm talking to you. I showed Sarah the text. She grabbed my phone and typed back before I could stop her. Can you record her if she admits it again? Liam's response was immediate. Already thinking the same thing. She's been spiral texting me all night. She's mentioned having proof you stalked her. I know it's bullshit. Sarah handed my phone back. This is going to get uglier before it gets better. The next morning, Lily had posted on Instagram a black square with white text about toxic family members trying to rewrite history. The hashtags made me sick. Survivor, my truth, healing journey. Within an hour, 3 cousins had texted me asking if the post was about me. One mentioned Lily had been acting weird lately at family functions. I was walking into work when I got another text from Liam. Meeting you at the Daily Grind on Main Street at noon. I have something you need to hear. I arrived at the coffee shop early and took a booth in the back corner. My hands wrapped around a coffee cup I didn't intend to drink. The barista, Chloe, recognized me from my regular visits and gave me a sympathetic nod. She'd seen me here plenty of mornings after rough nights. Liam O'Connell walked in exactly at noon. He looked exhausted, His usually impeccable banker appearance disheveled, dark circles under his eyes told me he hadn't slept. He slid into the booth across from me and pulled out his phone. He showed me a voice recording app with dozens of files dated from the past 2 nights. He explained that after receiving my email, he'd confronted Lily. She'd broken down, admitted everything, then immediately tried to spin new versions of the story. He'd recorded all of it. He played one recording where Lily practiced different explanations. In one version, she claimed I'd been harassing her recently. In another, she said I'd threatened her family. Each iteration got more elaborate, more damaging. The manipulation was methodical, calculated. Liam handed me a folder with printed emails between Lily and her best friend, Brooke. They discussed contingency plans for if the truth ever came out. Lily had written detailed strategies for maintaining her victim status, including claims of recent stalking and threats. Before I could respond, the coffee shop door chimed. Lily walked in, scanning the room frantically. Chloe immediately stepped in her path and loudly announced she didn't serve liars. Lily's face flushed as other patrons turned to stare. She spotted us and tried to approach, but Chloe physically blocked her. Lily left quickly, but not before shooting me a look of pure hatred. My phone buzzed with a text from my sister, Maria. Sarah had brought her to my house that morning. She wanted to talk. I met them at my place after leaving the coffee shop. Maria was crying before she even got inside. She pulled out a journal from 2015 and handed it to me with shaking hands. She documented Lily's behavior patterns throughout their teenage years. Lying about teachers, faking panic attacks, manipulating family members for attention. Entry after entry showed a clear pattern of deception. Maria admitted she'd suspected Lily was lying about me, but had been too scared to speak up. The family's reaction had been so severe, so immediate. She'd convinced herself she must be wrong. That afternoon, I got a Facebook message from Jessica, Lily's college roommate. She'd seen Lily's Instagram post and recognized the manipulation tactics. She had her own proof. Screenshots of Lily bragging about destroying someone who'd crossed her. The messages were from our sophomore year of college. Lily had written detailed plans about how she'd ruin someone's life if they ever ignored her. One message made my blood run cold. My cousin learned not to ignore me. I responded carefully to Jessica, maintaining a professional tone despite my rage. She offered to send everything she had. Within an hour, I had chat logs showing Lily's history of false accusations, including one against a professor who'd given her a bad grade. Meanwhile, I had to deal with the HR complaint. I wrote a measured response, CCing a lawyer friend who'd offered to help. I explained the situation factually, included the evidence of Lily's confession, and maintained complete professionalism. My coworkers noticed my calm demeanor and started asking questions. Word spread quickly through the warehouse about what was really happening. Lily's desperation was escalating. Liam informed me she'd been placed on administrative leave from her marketing firm after he'd shared information about her history of false allegations. Their wedding, scheduled for 3 weeks away, was obviously canceled. She was spiraling. That evening, I was at the grocery store when I felt someone watching me. I turned to see my mother at the end of the aisle. Her hands shook as she approached. She whispered an apology, tears streaming down her face. She was wearing the silver locket I'd given her 50th birthday. Before we could talk more, Lily appeared from the next aisle. She'd been following my mother. Lily immediately started talking loudly about how I was manipulating everyone, how I doctored evidence. Other shoppers began staring. I stayed silent, remembering the security cameras overhead. My mother looked between us, her face crumbling as she saw Lily's mask slipping. Lily then made an unexpected move. She offered me $50,000 from her trust fund to leave town and start fresh somewhere else. She said it loud enough for others to hear, framing it as generous compensation for a misunderstanding. I pulled out my phone and started recording, making sure she repeated the offer. She did, adding that all I had to do was sign a statement saying the screenshots were fake. That night, I received a text from Aunt Carol, Lily's mother. She wanted to talk. Something wasn't adding up with Lily's constantly changing story. We agreed to meet at a neutral location the next day. Liam continued to be a valuable ally. He revealed that Lily had been in therapy since college for compulsive lying and manipulation. During a previous incident involving false accusations against a teaching assistant, her therapy notes had been subpoenaed. He had copies. The pattern was undeniable. I realized that among the extended family, only my parents and Lily's parents still fully believed her. Everyone else was starting to question the narrative. The family group chat that had been silent for years suddenly came alive with discussions. Jessica sent more evidence. Chat logs from a week ago showed Lily planning her plan B. If caught lying, she'd claim mental illness. She'd researched symptoms, practiced stories about dissociation and false memories. The calculation was chilling. Marcus proved to be a true friend when Lily showed up at my workplace again. She'd waited until she saw me heading to the loading dock. Marcus physically placed himself between us, blocking her from entering. He called security while maintaining his position. He told her he knew a predator when he saw one, and it wasn't me. She left before security arrived, but not before several coworkers witnessed her harassment. That night, Marcus shared his own story. He'd been falsely accused by a family member years ago. He recognized the patterns, the manipulation tactics. We spent hours developing a plan to expose Lily safely without endangering actual survivors or making this about revenge. Liam suggested posting everything online, but I refused. This wasn't about public humiliation. It was about truth and protecting others from her manipulation. We agreed to handle everything privately, documenting each interaction for protection, but not weaponizing social media. 2 days later, Lily cornered me at a gas station. I was filling up when she appeared beside my car. She leaned in close and said that nobody would believe screenshots could not be faked. It was my credibility against hers, and she was the victim in everyone's eyes. I said nothing, just smiled slightly and pointed up at the security camera directly overhead. Her face went pale. Liam compiled his recordings and created a notarized statement about their conversations. He backed up everything in 3 locations and gave me copies. Lily's confession was now thoroughly documented from multiple sources. The dominoes began falling faster. Lily's best friend, Brooke, blocked her on everything after Liam shared the truth with her. She sent me an apology, saying she'd always felt something was off, but had chosen to believe her friend. More family members started reaching out, sharing their own doubts and observations from over the years. Sarah created a group chat with family members who believed me. She shared Maria's journal entries. The extended family group chat exploded with discussions. Sides formed, but momentum was shifting toward the truth. Lily's supporters went silent one by one as evidence mounted. I scheduled an emergency session with Dr. Aris's colleague. She helped me plan responses that would protect my sobriety while seeking justice. We worked on strategies for handling confrontations without letting anger take control. The work was exhausting, but necessary. Everything came to a head when Lily showed up at my house at 2 a.m., hammered and banging on my door. She screamed that I'd ruined everything, that I'd destroyed her life. I called Marcus and Liam immediately. They arrived within minutes to witness and document her behavior. Lily's erratic actions escalated. She kicked my door, threw a rock at my window, and screamed threats. My elderly neighbor, Mr. Harrison, came out and told her this wasn't the first time he'd seen Lily act this way. Several other neighbors watched from their windows. Marcus recorded everything while Liam called the police. When officers arrived, Lily tried to claim I'd invited her over and then locked her out. But with multiple witnesses and her obvious intoxication, her story fell apart. The officers took statements from everyone and advised me to seek a restraining order. The next morning, Lily's employer called Liam to inform him that, after an internal investigation, they'd placed her on permanent leave. Her history of false allegations and the current situation made her a liability. Word had spread through their professional network. Mrs. Schmidt revealed something unexpected. She'd overheard Lily's parents in 2019 discussing plans to check on me to see if I'd changed. She had doorbell camera footage of them sitting in a car outside my house, watching. They'd known where I was for years, but had chosen to maintain the arrangement. I made sure Liam had support through his friend group while maintaining boundaries about not targeting Lily vindictively. I suggested he join a support group for partners of manipulators. He took me up on it and found it helpful. Both of my sisters fully reconciled with me. We started having weekly dinners, sharing 9 years of missed memories. They introduced me to their children, my nieces and nephews I'd never met. The pain of lost time was overwhelming, but the joy of reconnection helped balance it. Family members who'd believed me from the start began reaching out with apologies for not speaking up. They'd been afraid of being cast out too. The family dynamic had been ruled by fear of exclusion, and Lily had weaponized that perfectly. Lily tried one more manipulation. She sent a group text claiming I was turning everyone against her, that she was the real victim, being gaslit by a master manipulator. But her constantly changing story undermined her credibility. Family members started pointing out the inconsistencies. During a family dinner that Lily wasn't invited to, she showed up anyway. When confronted about her lies, her mask finally dropped completely. She screamed that I deserved it for ignoring her, for being everyone's favorite, for having the life she wanted. The admission was witnessed by 12 family members. My father saw Lily's true nature when she threatened to destroy me like she had before. His face went white as understanding dawned. The man who'd sent me that final text 9 years ago now saw the truth. He broke down completely. Former family friends who distanced themselves started inviting me to gatherings. Lily was no longer welcome after her behavior became known. The social isolation she'd inflicted on me was now her reality. The HR investigation at my work concluded that Lily's claims were unsubstantiated and appeared retaliatory. Her complaint was officially dismissed. My boss apologized for initially believing her, saying she'd been very convincing. I didn't blame him. She'd fooled an entire family for 9 years. A family reunion was scheduled for the following month. Grandma, now 94 and in declining health, wanted everyone there for possibly her last gathering. This became a deadline of sorts. The family had to decide how to handle Lily's presence. More evidence surfaced when Lily's ex-boyfriend from college reached out. She'd falsely accused him of theft when he'd broken up with her. He had a police report proving his innocence. The pattern of false accusations stretched back further than anyone had realized. I compiled a timeline of Lily's lies with dates, witnesses, and documentation. The pattern showed clear escalation over time. What started as small lies for attention had grown into life-destroying false accusations. The family couldn't ignore the evidence. At a family meeting, I presented everything calmly while Lily became increasingly agitated. She contradicted herself multiple times, changed her story, and eventually started screaming at everyone. Her parents tried to calm her, but she turned on them, too. Mom finally admitted she'd known something felt wrong, but had been too shocked to think clearly. The detail and emotion in Lily's initial accusation had overridden her logic. She'd chosen to believe her niece over her son, and the guilt was destroying her. A small family gathering occurred without Lily. The first time in 9 years I'd been welcomed back. I sat in my old spot at the dinner table. Everyone was careful not to mention the lost years, but the empty space where those memories should have been was palpable. Lily made one last desperate play. She claimed she was having panic attacks and heart palpitations from the stress. She needed family support or something bad might happen, but the family recognized the pattern. Sarah pointed out that Lily had used identical health tactics in high school to avoid consequences. Then came another blow to Lily's credibility. Her employer discovered she'd lied on her application about having a master's degree she'd never completed. The investigation into her background had revealed multiple deceptions. She was formally terminated. My relationships with my siblings were fully restored. We had dinners together, shared stories, tried to fill in 9 years of gaps. The pain of lost time would never fully heal, but we were building something new. Through all of this, I maintained my sobriety. Marcus checked on me daily. Dr. Aris's colleague provided crucial support. The urge to drink was there, especially during the hardest confrontations. But I had tools now that I hadn't had 9 years ago. Lily's world was collapsing, but it was entirely of her own making. Each lie she'd told to cover previous lies had created a house of cards. Now it was all tumbling down. The family she'd manipulated for nearly a decade was finally seeing the truth. I sat in my car outside my childhood home one evening, trying to decide whether to go in. The house looked exactly the same, but everything had changed. 9 years of estrangement couldn't be erased overnight, but for the first time since that phone call while sketching designs, I had hope that healing was possible. The family meeting was scheduled for that evening at Grandma's house, nestled in the quiet, tree-lined streets of Bend, Oregon. I arrived to find cars already filling the driveway. Through the window, I could see family members gathered in the living room, their faces tense. Lily's car wasn't there yet. Inside, the atmosphere was thick with anticipation. My aunts and uncles sat in the same spots they'd occupied 9 years ago when they'd first heard Lily's accusation. The irony wasn't lost on me. Sarah squeezed my shoulder as I took a seat. 20 minutes later, Lily arrived with her parents. She looked terrible. Hair unwashed, clothes wrinkled, dark circles under her eyes. Her confident facade had crumbled completely. She tried to sit in her usual spot, but Grandma pointed to a chair in the center of the room. Lily's face flushed as she realized she'd be facing everyone. I presented the timeline methodically, each lie documented, each pattern exposed. Family members passed around Maria's journal, Liam's notarized statement, Jessica's screenshots. Lily's parents grew paler with each piece of evidence. Her mother's hands shook as she read her daughter's own words about destroying people who crossed her. Lily's attempts to interrupt were shut down immediately. When she tried to claim the evidence was fabricated, Liam played the recording of her confession. Her voice filled the room, admitting everything, planning new lies. Several family members gasped. One aunt left the room in tears. The breaking point came when Grandma spoke. Her voice, usually soft with age, rang clear and strong. She talked about watching the family tear itself apart, about keeping silent when she'd had doubts. She looked directly at Lily and told her she'd destroyed something precious with her lies. Lily snapped. She jumped up, screaming that I was everyone's favorite, that nobody ever noticed her, that I deserved what I got for ignoring her at family events. The mask didn't just slip, it shattered completely. She admitted planning the lie because I'd missed her college graduation party while at a design conference. 9 years of destruction over a missed party. Aunt Carol suddenly stood up, her face white. She left the room and returned minutes later, carrying an old diary with a floral cover. Her hands trembled as she flipped through pages. She'd found it while packing Lily's old room for renovation. The entries were damning. Detailed plans about making me pay for missing her graduation, for not giving her enough attention. One entry, dated 2 weeks before the accusation, outlined exactly what she'd claim I did. Lily lunged for the diary, but her father grabbed her arm. He took the diary and read aloud, his voice breaking. The premeditation was undeniable. Lily had written about choosing me specifically because I was far away, about picking the accusation she did because it would guarantee I'd be cut off completely. She'd even practiced what to tell her parents. The room erupted. Family members who'd been holding back their anger finally let loose. They confronted Lily about other lies over the years. Faked illnesses, false accusations against teachers, manipulation tactics. The pattern stretched back to childhood. Lily's parents sat frozen, watching their daughter's lifetime of deception unravel. Grandma made the decision that would reshape our family. She stood, using her cane for support, and declared Lily unwelcome at any family gathering until she got serious psychiatric help and made genuine amends to everyone she'd hurt. The family matriarch had spoken. Nobody challenged her. Lily's response was immediate and vindictive. She pulled out her phone and showed me a photo, her hand holding a can of spray paint over my car. She threatened that if I didn't publicly forgive her and tell everyone the screenshots were fake, she'd make sure everyone knew I was dangerous. I walked outside without responding. Several family members followed. In the driveway, we found my car already vandalized. Predator spray painted across the hood in angry red letters, but Lily had made a crucial mistake. Grandma's neighbor, Mr. Henderson, had a security camera that covered the driveway. We watched the footage on his phone. Lily spray painting my car just minutes before entering the house. The neighbor, a retired police officer, offered to file a report. But something else was happening. Lily's parents were walking her to their car. Her mother was on the phone with someone, speaking urgently about emergency psychiatric admission. Her father held Lily's arm firmly as she alternated between sobbing and screaming threats. Back inside, the family fractured again. Some members worried we were pushing Lily to a breaking point. My mother wavered, wringing her hands and suggesting we should all just move forward for peace. She kept repeating that Lily was still family, that maybe we could work through this together. The argument split the room. Half wanted to support Lily getting help while maintaining relationships. The other half, led by Sarah and Maria, insisted on firm boundaries. Voices raised. Old resentments surfaced. The same dynamics that had allowed Lily's lie to destroy everything were emerging again. I left the house and sat in my vandalized car for over an hour. Through the windshield, I could see my family arguing through Grandma's living room window. 9 years ago, they'd united against me instantly. Now, they couldn't agree on how to handle the truth. My phone buzzed with texts from both sides, each trying to pull me into their position. Marcus arrived, having received my location pin. He surveyed the spray paint damage and shook his head. We sat in silence while I wrestled with the decision. I could push for maximum consequences, press charges, pursue a restraining order, ensure Lily faced legal ramifications, or I could support the mental health intervention her parents were arranging. The decision became clear when Lily's father knocked on my car window. He looked broken, aged a decade in one evening. He explained they were taking Lily for psychiatric evaluation immediately. She'd threatened self-harm in front of them, scratching at her arms until they bled. They needed family support for an involuntary hold. I made my choice. I would support the mental health intervention, but with strict conditions. Lily would need to admit the truth to everyone she'd lied to. The family would maintain a no-contact agreement. She'd have to comply with all treatment recommendations. The boundaries were non-negotiable. Lily's breakdown accelerated in the driveway. She pulled away from her parents and ran toward the street, screaming that she'd rather die than be locked up. Her father caught her before she reached traffic. The scene was chaos. Neighbors watching from windows, Lily fighting against her parents' grip, her mother crying while trying to calm her. An ambulance arrived within minutes. Lily's mother had called during the confrontation. The paramedics approached carefully, speaking in calm tones. Lily alternated between admitting everything and denying it all, claiming we'd driven her to this, that the lies were actually true, that she was the real victim. The inconsistencies in her statements concerned the paramedics enough to support transport for evaluation. As they prepared to leave, Lily made one last manipulation attempt. She told the paramedics I'd been stalking her, that this was all retaliation for rejecting me. But with 12 family witnesses and documentation of her confession, her claims fell flat. The paramedics had seen enough mental health crises to recognize the patterns. The family reconvened at Grandma's house after Lily left. The earlier arguments dissolved into exhausted silence. We sat in the same room where it had all started 9 years ago, processing what had just happened. Grandma broke the silence by asking me what I needed from the family going forward. I laid out my requirements clearly. Full acknowledgement of what had been done to me. Support for Lily getting treatment, but with maintained boundaries. No pressure to forgive or reconcile until I was ready. The family would need to rebuild trust through actions, not words. Most importantly, no more secrets or willful blindness to problematic behavior. 3 weeks later, we gathered again at Grandma's house. Lily arrived with her parents and a therapist from the psychiatric facility. She'd been admitted voluntarily after the initial hold. The therapist explained Lily had been diagnosed with a severe personality disorder requiring intensive, long-term treatment. Lily sat in the same center chair, but her demeanor had changed. She appeared medicated, movement slow and deliberate. When asked to address the family, she read from a prepared statement. The words were right, admitting the lies, taking responsibility, but delivered without emotion, mechanical, rehearsed. The therapist revealed Lily's pattern went deeper than anyone had realized. She'd created elaborate false narratives throughout her life, each one escalating when previous lies succeeded. The accusation against me had been her most destructive lie, but far from her only one. Treatment would take years with no guarantee of full recovery. Family members asked questions. Lily's responses oscillated between taking responsibility and subtle attempts to shift blame. She claimed mental illness made her lie, then admitted she'd known exactly what she was doing. She apologized, then suggested we'd all overreacted. The therapist took notes, occasionally redirecting when Lily tried to manipulate. Grandma spoke last. Her words cut through Lily's performance. She told Lily directly that lies had consequences, that mental illness didn't excuse conscious choices to destroy lives. She reaffirmed the family's decision. Lily would have no contact with family events for a minimum of 5 years. If she completed treatment and made genuine amends, they could reassess. Lily's final manipulation came as expected. She clutched her stomach, claiming severe pain, suggesting the stress might cause her to harm herself if the family didn't show forgiveness. The room's response was unified: get help, follow treatment, take responsibility. The days of emotional blackmail were over. The therapist escorted Lily out while her parents signed paperwork. She would return to the facility for continued treatment. As she left, she looked back at me once. No apology in her eyes, just cold calculation. Already planning her next move. Some things don't change. I stood in Grandma's backyard afterward with my siblings and cousins. We built a small fire in the old fire pit. I pulled out the folder of evidence. Screenshots, printouts, documentation of 9 years of pain. One by one, I fed them to the flames. The ashes scattered in the wind, drifting toward the fence that bordered Lily's childhood home. My mother approached as the last papers burned. She pulled out a photo album from the house. Pictures from before the lie. Family gatherings, holiday celebrations, my college graduation. 9 years of empty pages followed. She handed me a pen and a stack of recent photos. We began filling the gaps together. 6 months later, I hosted Christmas dinner at my house. The table was full. Parents, sisters, their children, cousins, aunts, uncles. Grandma sat at the head, weaker but still sharp. An empty chair remained where Lily would have sat, holding a photo of our family from before the lie, a reminder of what deception costs and what truth can restore. My girlfriend, Emily, helped serve dinner. She knew the whole story, had seen me through the final months of rebuilding. My nieces and nephews called me Uncle Ethan for the first time. The word felt foreign, but right. Marcus joined us, practically family now. Liam sent a card. He'd found peace in a support group and started dating again. The doorbell rang during dessert. Everyone tensed, but it was just carolers spreading holiday cheer. We listened from the doorway. My family pressed close together, not the same as before. Scarred, but healing. Broken, but mending. Some things can't be restored. 9 years don't come back, but a life perhaps can be rebuilt, one truthful step at a time.